Still Pinder. Oh, ball is loose. The Giants have it. Scott Eaton's on the football.
That's a pretty good hitting going on there, I'll tell you.
Jimmy Files knocked it loose, and Scott Eaton covered it.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. And welcome to the Gridiron. And while we have a little slow time here before the NFL draft coming up, I just want to go back and go over some of the history of the New York Giants. And no place better to start with the history of the New York Giants than year number one, 1925. We're going way back. 96 years ago, guys. Tim Mara purchased the New York Giants for $500. The NFL was having a hard time trying to stay afloat. The NFL came into existence in 1920. Was having a hard time staying afloat, and they kind of wanted to get a team established in like a big city. So no place better than, obviously, than New York. So they went to New York, and Tim Mara bought it for $500, which was the equivalent of today of a little over $7 million. So it was, for today's money, buy a team, cost you a couple billion. $7 million, that's a bargain. Now, 1920, when the league started, there was many different teams. And as the years, teams came and they went. Every year there was different teams in there. Well, it's not like it is today. There was 20 teams in 1925. Let me read them off. A couple of them you'll actually know. Right? There was the Chicago Cardinals, which today is, the Cardinals. Right? They're still around. The Pottsville Maroons, the Detroit Panthers, the New York Giants, the Akron Pros, the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, Chicago Bears, Rock Island Independents, Green Bay Packers, Providence Steamroller, Canton Bulldogs, Cleveland Bulldogs, Kansas City Cowboys, the Hammond Pros, Buffalo Bison, Rochester Jeffersons, the Dayton Triangles, the Duluth Kellys, Milwaukee Badgers, and the Columbus Tigers. All 20 of them. Now, 1925, the professional football was having a difficult time. Was having a hard time getting going, getting a lot of attendance. College football was huge. Boxing, baseball, all, overpowered the NFL. The Giants, their year, most of the games that they had attendance anywhere from 4,000 to 27,000. So they had a hard time. They wound up in fourth place. They were 8-4. To try to get some attendance to the game, Tim Mara signed Jim Thorpe to play for the Giants. Now, in his contract, he was only supposed to play like a small percentage of the games until he got into better shape, because he was 37 years old at the time. He only wound up playing one game, and he got hurt, and he never played again. But the Giants that year scored a whopping 16 touchdowns, and they kicked 6 field goals. They defensive-wise, they did pretty good. They only gave up 8 touchdowns. One was on a interception return. One was on a kickoff return, and one was a punt was blocked and returned into the end zone for a touchdown there. So they only gave up 5 rushing touchdowns all year. So even back then, their defense still prevailed. Their first game ever was they lost. They lost their first 3 games of the year. Then over the next, they played 9 more games after that. They won 8 out of 9. So their first 3 games didn't start off too well. Their first game ever was October 11, 1925 against the Providence Steamroller. They lost 14-0. Their first win was against the Cleveland Bulldogs, 19-0 at the Polo Grounds on November 1st, 1925. Now, funny enough, if Joe Judge was the coach back then, he'd be a little ticked off because their special teams kind of led them to their first 2 losses. Against the Providence Steamroller, they lost 14-0. They gave up 2 touchdowns. One was on a block punt, which was run back for a touchdown. And then the second one, it was a kickoff return for a touchdown. And their second loss was against the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. They lost 5-3. And funny enough, Jim Thorpe himself was the kind of basically the cause of the one loss in the one game that he played for the Giants. He had one of his punts were blocked in the end zone, resulting in a safety, and the Giants wound up losing 5-3. And it was the only game he ever played for the Giants. They said they wound up finishing the season strong. They won 8 out of their last 9 games. But the problem was that with the low attendance rate, Tim Mara was losing a lot of money. And it came to be that there was a point in time where he was $40,000 in debt because of the low attendance, paying guys. The guys only made like about $100 a game, if that. But he was losing money. And on December 6th, 1925, all right, there was 2 games played that day, which to this day have effects on the National Football League. 2 games, December 6th, 1925. Write it down. Which still have effects to this day. The first game, Giants were well in debt. $40,000 in debt. So $500 is worth $7 million in today's money. $40,000 in debt would be worth over $500 million in debt. So Tim Mara at today's money would be over $500 million in debt at today's money. He can't go on like that. Possibility the Giants would have to, go out of business. Possible they may not be here anymore. But they signed a game against the Chicago Bears and Red Grange. And if not for Chicago Bears and specifically Red Grange, to this day the Giants may not be around. On December 6, 1925, the Giants played in the Polo Grounds, the Chicago Bears and Red Grange. The attendance was over 73,000 people. They had to turn 20,000 people away at the door because of the popularity of the Bears and Red Grange. They said Red Grange, when he was in college at Illinois, the crowds were just huge. Matter of fact, the same year in Yankee Stadium, Army played Notre Dame in Yankee Stadium and it had a crowd of over 70,000, just to go to show you how much the attendance was in college football. I said it was one of the games the Giants played that year. They had attendance of 4,000 people. And Tim Mara was giving away free tickets, too, just to get the people to come to the game. So anyway, in December 6, 1925, the Giants played, and they wound up losing. That was their last loss of the season. They lost 19-7. Matter of fact, Red Grange picked a pass off, ran it back for a touchdown, which kind of put the game out of reach. But the money they made from the selling of tickets was over $143,000 that day. It was enough for him. Tim Mara took money, split it with the Bears also, but he recouped all of his losses that year, and the Giants were able to exist for the following season. But if it wasn't for that one game and 73,000 people, and he could have made even more money, he could have raised the ticket prices, which he didn't decide to do. Too classy of a guy, I guess. But he could have made even more money. But $143,000 he made in that one game saved the Giants and possibly forever. Now, that's game number 1. Game number 2, which still to this day in a town in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, still raises the hair, gets the blood boiling on some people in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. In the Chicago Cardinals and the Pottsville Maroons were going neck and neck all year long. On December 6th, the Pottsville Maroons were 9-2. Chicago Cardinals were 10-1 and 1. I'm sorry, 9-1-1. They both played 11 games. Pottsville was 9-2. Chicago Cardinals was 9-1-1. They played a game to decide who the champion would be. So they went to Comiskey Park in Chicago. Pottsville took their team, went to Chicago and won 21-7. Therefore, giving them a record, the Pottsville Maroons, of 10-2-0. Chicago Cardinals had a record of 9-2-1. Pottsville Maroons were on better percent. There was no playoffs or nothing. So on percentage points, Pottsville Maroons had a better percentage winning record than the Chicago Cardinals because they were 10-2. They both played 12 games and they were 10-2. So they were declared the champion. However, the following week, in Shibe Park, the Pottsville Maroons had a game set up against the Notre Dame All-Stars from like 1924 season. And they played the game in Shibe Park, which is close to where the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets play. The Frankfurt Yellow Jackets that same day played the Cleveland Bulldogs. And there was some type of rule, I don't know if it was written or unwritten or what, but there was some type of a rule where there's territorial rights. And the Pottsville Maroons played in Shibe Park, which is where the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets play, because the attendance is low. So you can't be taking people from the same area and splitting them up. So that's when they had the attendance problem, the rule. So the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets went to Joseph Carr, like the NFL president at the time, and complained that Joseph Carr possibly warned the Pottsville Maroons not to play the game against Notre Dame on December 12th, 1925, because it had the territorial right problem. Well, Pottsville still played the game against Notre Dame. They won 9-7. The Frankfurt Yellow Jackets played on December 12th, 1925, the same game, the same day. And they complained to Joseph Carr. Joseph Carr ruled in favor of the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, saying that the Pottsville Maroons should not have played the same day in that same area as the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, and he voted in Frankfurt's voted for Frankfurt, and basically stripped the title from Pottsville. Pottsville had the title won and all, and if they didn't play that game, they'd still have the title to this day. So basically, he took the title away from Pottsville and gave it to the Chicago Cardinals. And to this day, there's plaques, there's signs hanging up in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, stating that Pottsville Maroons are 1925 NFL champions. And people were trying to get to see if they could reopen the case, to see if they can do anything about it. So in 2003, the NFL went to the owners to see if they wanted to reopen this case about the 1925 Pottsville Maroons being stripped of their title, and went to all 32 owners. It came back to, 30 owners chose not to open it up. 2 owners decided to reopen the case, so needless to say, it never got opened up. But funny enough, the 2 owners that wanted to open the case back up to see if the Pottsville Maroons from Pennsylvania could get their title back, the 2 owners that said yes to open the case up were the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles, the 2 teams from Pennsylvania. But to this day, there's many people in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, who thinks that they got robbed of their title. And they were the best team. They beat Chicago 21-7 that day for basically kind of like the championship game, although there was no playoffs. But they won it fair and square on the field, and because of a little mishap they had playing a game the following week, they had the title taken from them. To this day, it's still in effect. So 2 games that year, December 6, 1925, had huge implications on the NFL today. Well, as always, people, thank you so much for taking time any day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there, and go Giants! Woo!